something that I wish I would have known as a kid, or all of us would have known as a kid, of like how we should be treating our body, how we should be eating, how I should be working out, how I should be recovering. Like, I don't want Wild Society to only be products. I want it to teach health, wellness to the younger generation of how to live a life.
Hello and welcome to the Move the Chains podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Munsey. Look, every high performer has their own unique set of strategies and techniques to stay focused on the right actions at the right time and to keep moving forward, moving the chains, as we call it. Today, we've got former two-time UFC bantamweight champion, world champion, TJ Dillashaw, joining me on the Move the Chains podcast to talk about his winning mindset and peak performance so you too can move the chains and achieve your dreams. Look, in addition to his successes in the UFC, Tony is now an entrepreneur. He's a business owner of I'll say wildly successful early stage nutrition and supplement company called Wild Nutrition Society. TJ, welcome to the show, man. I'm excited to chat with you about what it takes to win at the highest levels in sports, business, and life.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate that. And it's a very interesting topic, right? Like just the mindset that goes into success and things that you didn't realize you had that you end up finding out about later, and things that you miss when one of your careers is over, you know?
What do you miss the most?
I miss the fear. Yeah, like I miss that adrenaline that makes you feel more alive than anything in the world. Like you're walking out of that tunnel in front of millions of people to fight another human being in a cage and just hoping to perform to the best of your ability. Like you're scared, you know, you're very scared. You're not scared to get knocked out or scared to get beat up. You're scared about performing, and that fear will make you feel more alive than anything ever. And that's what I miss the most. I feel like, I mean, there's a lot that I miss, but that specifically is what I miss the most.
I want to dig into some of that, but something that you just said makes me wonder another question. I mean, when we talk about separating, like, let's call it what it is. You were a world champion. When you look at not just UFC, but every professional sport, you have guys that make it, right? Like guys they're pros, right? But take nothing away from them. They are professional athletes. Then you have guys that are Hall of Famers, or guys that win titles. Then you have Hall of Famers as like another class. And then you have sort of like the Mount Rushmore class. Like what you just said, when you're walking into the ring or you're walking down the tunnel, that intro music is playing. You just said you're not afraid of getting knocked out or getting hurt. Do you feel like that's not true for some guys who may not have enjoyed success at the level you did? Or phrased another way, if somebody is walking out worried about getting hurt, how good are their chances of performing and getting to the level that you achieved?
Yeah, I definitely don't think you need to be. I mean, I wouldn't think most of them are afraid of getting knocked out. I mean, there might be some, and like you said, they probably won't be able to become world champion or be a top-notch fighter because of that. But I think most of us that have made it into the UFC are probably over that fear because you know it could happen to you at any time. More so just the fear of performance. And that fear of performance can hinder you as well as it can make you perform even better. And learning how to deal with that fear, I think, is one of the most important things in the game of competition, not just fighting, just any kind of form of competition, any kind of athletic, competition. I feel that fear can either drown you with emotion, or it can make you rise to the greatest possibility of your flow state. And I feel like I didn't learn how to deal with fear until, like, to be honest, like halfway through my career. I feel like I luckily was able to get away with just being a well-rounded athlete and could get some wins under my belt. But until I really decided to enjoy the fear and understand that it was part of it, and that what I miss now is until I really opened that next level and was able to make a run to the title and become a world champion. I had to learn to absorb it and understand that everyone's scared and that it was turn it into something fun, because I used to get such tunnel vision when I go out to a fight when I first started fighting, even when I was wrestling. It'd be like tunnel vision. I wouldn't pay attention to anything else other than the goal at hand and the guy across the cage. I wouldn't pay attention to anything else. And then I had a corner man, Justin Buckles, halfway through my career. I think this was 2013 when I was fighting Mike Easton. said something very generic. He just told me, he's like, because I was nervous in the backstage, like I always was. I was getting ready, I'm yelling, I'm hitting mitts, I'm like getting myself pumped up. And he's like, hey man, enjoy this walkout. Enjoy this process you're going through right now. He's like, so many people would love to be in your shoes. He's like, absorb that situation. And it was pretty generic, but for whatever reason, it clicked with me that night. And that was like the first time I really enjoyed my walkout, like vibed with my walkout song. I like found my family in the stands. I like seen what celebrities were front row watching the fight. And to be honest, like really absorbed the whole atmosphere of the fight. And that night I performed amazing. Like things just clicked. And I just had to trick myself every night after that, every fight, that's the way I needed to do. I needed to enjoy it and distract myself with like in that Mike Easton fight, I remember Shaquille O'Neal being front row. And I'm walking back and forth warming up, and I'm fighting out of Sacramento. He's helping out the Kings at this time. So he yells at me, he's like, yeah, do it for Sac. And I was like, I realized it was Shaquille O'Neal. I was like, oh man, no way, that's awesome, you know? And there was a time in the fight where I hit a double leg on Mike Easton, and I look at Shaquille O'Neal and say, this one's for you. And like I pick him up and I slam him, and then he's on the corner like telling me to elbow him and stuff. And just that whole having fun with fear into a different mentally strong athlete.
I think there's some folks who may not have been in situations like that. And I mean, that in and of itself is kind of the problem when folks like that are given advice on how to be present and be in the moment. But there's a school of thought where those types of things that you just mentioned are, some think that they're the antithesis of being focused or being present. But I would argue, what you just pointed out is the epitome of being present, that you are fully present. And there's an element of situational awareness in that too, right? Like if you can't look around and see who's around you in an alley behind a nightclub, you're not fully situationally aware, right? And so can you talk about how you balance that, or how you feel about being present and being in the moment?
Yeah, I mean, I really believe, like I said, I had to like trick myself to do it. Okay. Like just positive talk myself into that, at least me personally. Someone told me that, it worked that night, it clicked. And so I had to like trick myself every night that I enjoyed fear, that I enjoyed being how scared I was. Because in my next fight after that, I fought for a world title. Just so happened things worked out awesome for me, and I got moved up to fight for a world title. And so that same situation was like, all right, enjoy this, enjoy all the attention you're getting, even though like it's hard to sleep at night because you're so worried about it, but that's the fun in it all, right? So I really had to because every athlete, every entrepreneur, every human being on this planet is going to have negative thoughts all the time about yourself, about your situation, about whatever it is in life. And I just generically just overwhelm it with positivity, right? Like every time I have a negative thought, I just slam 3 positive thoughts in there, that I work harder than my opponent, that, I'm more highly skilled in certain aspects than my opponent, and just like pile on this positivity that's going to usually get overwhelmed with negativity, because you can let it run. Yeah. You just let it run. But so I tricked myself into making myself believe I loved fear, and now I miss it. So I did love it because I felt the most alive as possible,
It sounds like you were incredibly vigilant over your thoughts in that internal dialogue.
I'd say so. And I didn't see a sports psychologist. I mean, I definitely recommend doing it. Or it's, someone to help you with positivity in general. I think this is something I just learned throughout all my failures throughout wrestling and just athletics in general. And just becoming mentally strong and learning to deal with, the negative things that happen to you, from losses to countless injuries and just whatever it may be. And just what I like to call myself now is I'm a delusional optimist. I'm just delusionally optimistic that everything's going to work out and I'm going to get it done. And it's kind of, I really dove into the book, The Secret, a while ago with me and my wife. And, like that kind of mindset, just positive,
Yeah. So, I mean, the competition to become a world champion, I'm no doubt was insanely fierce. I'm curious, to what extent did you sort of develop this whatever it takes mindset? How did you, you call it like a commitment versus decisions, or a standard of excellence? I mean, obviously you're somebody that even to this day, you take the fitness and the recovery seriously, the nutrition. Was that always a part of it? Was that maybe something that felt like it was just you made the choice to be the best and that was just what you had to do to be the best?
I think this all comes from my father, to be honest. Like, he is the hardest working man I've ever met in my life. And just that hardworking mentality, witnessing it, wasn't like he told me that's how I had to be. He's kind of just like led by example. And then he was my wrestling coach all the way through high school until I got into college. And I just knew that if I wanted to be the best in the world, that I had to work my ass off to get there. I wasn't always the most athletic. Like, my little brother, on the other hand, he was the athlete. Like, things came easy to him. He won. It was easy. He'd always be taking first place as a kid. And I felt like when the going got tough, it was easier for him to kind of be like, I don't really enjoy this anymore, right? So I feel like it was harder for me to win in the beginning, and I had to work my butt off to be as good as he was. And I feel like that just prepared me for the future and becoming a professional athlete, that leave no stone unturned. Like, if I'm going to be the best, I have to do absolutely everything to be the best. And I became OCD about it. I became OCD about what my sleep cycle was, what my nutrition looked like, what my just everything, right? And then I surrounded myself with guys that were better than me at the time. And I surrounded myself with the best coaches in the world. And I just knew that that's how I was going to become the best. And I was going to outwork the guys that were better than me at the time to become better than them. And, it worked out.
Do you remember any of the games that you would play in your head or things you would say to yourself to push yourself during that time?
I feel like it happens even constantly today. Like, I kind of feel like, even if I miss a workout, if I go a week without working out enough times in the day, like, I feel really bad about myself. Like, I think I hold a lot of pressure on myself to know that hard work is what's going to get me the victories. If that's in this entrepreneurial world, or if that's becoming a world champion, that I feel really guilty if I'm having a cheat meal. I don't have cheat meals because it makes me feel too bad mentally, even though it's probably not that big a deal. It affects me differently. I don't know why.
No, I can resonate with that. I mean, when you realize that your input, your hard work, or your input level into something directly affects the output. Anytime you're not living up to what you're capable of in terms of those inputs, like, whether anybody else knows or not, like, hey, I could do better. And for somebody that wants to be the best, it's hard to allow yourself to do less than what you're fully capable of.
That's a great way to put it, man. Yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly how my mind works, at least. Yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned like the world title fights and all the lights, the interviews, all the stuff that comes with that. I love the fact that you'd gotten that advice to enjoy it before and you were able to, but I'm still curious, like, how do you not get caught up in the show, the entertainment part of it, and remain focused on what you have to do so that you can perform in the cage?
Yeah, it's a great question. I feel like the first title, so I went from being on undercards, on free live TV fights. I'd never been on a pay-per-view event, never been on a main card yet, until I fought for the world title in 2014 against Henry Barao. So I really didn't have a big enough name yet, but I got pushed to the top and fight for this big opportunity. So I went from like a little minute bit of stardom from being an Ultimate Fighter and being a UFC fighter to being the main event and having the Countdown show follow you around and embedded and all these things that kind of were thrown at me. And to me, it was fun. Like, that was the goal, right? The goal was to like have all this attention and become a star and be a world champion. I knew that it was going to like feed my family and just what I was striving for. So my first title fight, I absorbed it. I loved every minute of it. I was like, this is my destiny. I'm here to do it. I was an 8-1 underdog. Like, no one thought I was going to win. I was fighting a guy that was number one pound for pound in the world, hadn't lost in 10 years. No chance in hell that I was going to win. And I just kind of absorbed this attention and just like I had nothing to lose and felt like it was my destiny to get this victory. And so the first time the show, I think actually made me perform even better. Still to this day, it was the best fight I've ever had. I was the most in flow state I've ever been. Every second of the fight was amazing, right? And then from there on, the pressure started getting stacked on you because once you become the champion, You got a target on your back. You have things to prove. I had nothing to prove before,
Right.
right? Now I have all these things to prove. And I guess the more and more you're in the limelight, the more and more it becomes a job, right? And the more it wears you down and it sucks your energy. And, towards the later part of my career, after being a champion, it was harder for me to block out the show because it turned into a job rather than me enjoying it. So, trying to find the silver lining of enjoying and knowing this is part of the success.
As you look back on it, maybe not necessarily regrets, but if you could do the last quarter of your career again, are there things that you know now that you could put in place that would have helped you enjoy it more?
Absolutely. I mean, maybe not enjoy it more, but be more successful.
Yeah.
And I guess that was the goal, right? I mean, being as successful as possible and walking out with as padded pockets as you possibly can was the goal in hand. Yeah, I wanted to be world champion. I wanted to be the best in the world. That's why I worked so hard. But I also wanted to feed my family and be financially stable. Like it turned into a job. So there's a lot of things I could have done to the last quarter of my career that would have made me a lot more money if I would have been willing to do it. And that was live into the show more, like be more of the character and more of the crap talk. And at the time, that's the stuff that gave me anxiety. Like I'm kind of someone that like avoided drama, right? And still do. Like it isn't something that like makes me feel like, I don't know, it kind of gives me a little bit of anxiety. So I'd like avoid those situations, but that's what makes you a bigger star. I mean, you can look at what Conor McGregor did and some of these guys that are fighting now that are living into the show and becoming part of the hype and this, the drama. It's like, that's what's going to make your name as big as possible, unfortunately. But that's the entertainment business,
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you see that outside of sports as well, right? I mean, that's basically social media. It's TV. It's everything, right? And I'm sure that's a hard spot. I mean, it's hard for me, and I'm nowhere near the level you were. So I can only imagine the pull that you felt to be a certain way. You also have to be happy that you, even if you didn't pad your pockets as much as you could have, that you stayed true to who you are.
Yeah, for sure. But part of it's also like I was mentally strong athlete. I do believe that I was very mentally strong, but to increase the drama, increase the pressure on yourself as well too, right? And I tried to not increase the pressure, right? Like if I went there and say like, I mean, to be honest, like, Conor McGregor is one of the most mentally strong human beings there's got to be out there for all the crap he was talking and the way that he was acting. Now you have to back it up, right? Yeah. Like that was my fear, I guess. Like if I'm going to be that guy, now I got to back it up. There's that much more pressure on me, and like, try to avoid pressure, try to be in that flow state as much as possible. But the guys that are able to do it, more power to them, because it takes a certain human being to be able to do that.
Yeah, it does. It does. You mentioned flow. I mean, what are some of the things that you did then and may even do now to try to induce flow? I mean, I know there's a lot of flow triggers, and I think and I think our audience knows you can't focus on that. It has to happen. But what were some of the things that you've done to sort of help get there?
Learning how I'm made up and how I can actually get to that flow state, because everyone gets there differently, especially in the fighting world. Some guys will get there by having animosity towards their opponent. They need to be angry. They need to be like seeing red to reach their flow state. For me, I needed to have fun. I'm someone that needed to, again, enjoy the fear and have a smile on my face walking out. My parents used to be able to tell me, like, they would know when I was going to win, which I did a lot more winning than losing, but they'd be able to know because the look on my face when I came out, and that I was like enjoying the process, and that I'm high-fiving people and just soaking up the energy of the crowd, to where like other guys have to have that tunnel vision, or they need to be angry. And so learning how you're made up and what's going to make you perform the best, it helps me get to that flow state. Not a specific technique other than just tricking myself to enjoy it. It really was just like I really had to trick myself because it was very fearful, man. I mean, there's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of like pressure on getting out there and fighting on live TV in front of millions of people. It's like, it's going to make you or break you. And if I had to learn, I knew that me personally, I had to learn to have fun. And there's a fight that's a perfect example of that. When I fought Dominic Cruz, I had defended my belt already. I was a world champion. He's coming off an injury, and he was the first person to get under my skin and start talking crap to me. And it really pissed me off. And I remember those first 2 rounds I went out there trying to knock him out. And I didn't perform to my best until halfway through the fight. I started letting go and just fighting and being in the moment. And I almost finished him kind of deal, right? I ended up losing that fight to a split decision, which I still think is bullshit, but that's for a different conversation. But that fight taught me right then and there, like, all right, I do not perform seeing red. I do not perform being mad at my opponent. And so that fight taught me so much, because later in my career, I had to fight Cody Garbrandt, and they did a very good job of trying to get under my skin and making me the bad guy. And me learning that I couldn't let that affect me. It was going to take me out of my game and make me fight a way that wasn't my flow state. I learned from that Cruz fight that I have to ignore it, enjoy this process, and again, continue to trick yourself as best as your ability to enjoy it.
That's such a great example of learning from a mistake or just an experience and not repeating it in the future. I'm curious, did you have a specific post-fight process where you would look back at the fight itself, the camp, the lead up, and do sort of a debrief on what went well, what do we want to change going forward, so that you could continue to improve throughout your career?
I wouldn't say I did it post. I said I did it during. So every fight camp I ever had, maybe not my early ones, but probably since 2012, I kept a journal of every fight camp. Okay. Every fight camp I would go through and I'd write down like practices, like what I needed to do in practice, what my game plan was, what my weaknesses were. And then I would write, like, I'd watch a lot of tape on my opponent, and I'd write down like what combos I see myself hitting, what are my weaknesses and how he's going to hit them. And I journalized like how practices went, how like all this stuff. And so then it made it a lot easier for me to be able to look back and what camps went well, what camps didn't, how I performed and how I didn't. So it wasn't so much like I look back on it post-fight. I naturally was able to look at it post-fight because I had all my notes, but the same way they tell you to write something down because you remember it better, that was exactly what I did throughout my career. Like I have them somewhere actually here in my office, like a stack of journals from every fight.
That's really cool. I could see how that would be extremely helpful. To be able to go back and look, like you write it down, like you said, you forget certain things or you remember them a certain way, and maybe that's not accurate. But yeah, that's a cool process.
And it wasn't even that I would go back and reread them. It was almost like it helped ingrain the fight into my head as I'm going through it. Yeah. Like more so help me remember what combos I was going to hit, what things and as you're writing them down, you're envisioning yourself doing them, right? The power of belief, like again, the secret, like I'm seeing myself hit this certain combo that me and Dwayne Ludwig have been working so much. So I'm going to write it down in my journal, and I'm going to use this feint first, right? Before I hit the combo. And like, as I'm writing down those things, I'm envisioning myself doing it. So then when you're in that fight, it just becomes second nature. And then when you do reach flow state, your body reacts, right? Yeah. And that's what you hope.
Yeah. And I mean, you mentioned the power of actually physically writing it down instead of typing it. And that's a big part of why that's so much more valuable to do it that way. Mm-hmm. So you mentioned the anxiety, and I know we want to shift and talk about, you as a business owner now, and obviously some of the stuff that you're doing with your company, but you talked about like learning how to deal with that anxiety. I'm curious, do you still use some of those techniques to deal with the anxiety of being a business owner and entrepreneur now?
Absolutely, man. I do feel that my career has prepared me for my second career of being an entrepreneur. And I didn't realize how much mental toughness goes into this world of being an entrepreneur. Like there's a lot of people I can guarantee get broke in this world that end up failing in their business because of just the pressure and the ups and downs. And there's a lot of failures you deal with in my athletic career. And there's just as many, if not more, in your entrepreneurial career, because there's a lot of things you can't control. A lot of things out of your control, and you have to put out fires and a lot of downs, but eventually you get these small wins and they keep fueling your fire. But the idea of continuing to be a delusional optimist, I think I can use it to my advantage. It can also get me in trouble, which it has, but most of the time it's going to make me win, right? So staying optimistic about my situations and working my ass off, which I've always done my entire life to become successful, leaving no stone unturned, all those things that made me a world champion. Like, for instance, surrounding myself with athletes that were better than me at the time. I'm surrounding myself with other entrepreneurs that were better than me at the time until I can hopefully surpass them. Finding the best coaches in the world, which is, in my mind, advisors, right? Business advisors to teach me and finding those coaches that I can lean on and ask them the questions and learn from is also going to help me get to the top. So all of those things that got me to become a world champion, I'm kind of replacing and putting them into my entrepreneurial career. And so far they're working, man. They're working really, really well. But this ain't over. It's like I just got into the UFC right now. I still have an insane amount more to learn.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've always felt like people who played sports growing up and the higher they went in sports, maybe the more carryover there is, just because you have to learn so much to get to that level. But do you also look for former athletes when you're building your team and team members?
Yes and no. It depends how big the athlete got and how big their name is, right? Because you will see a lot of athletes that just want to live off what they've already done, the name that they've built. You see a lot of athletes that slap their name on a company and let someone else run it, right? And that's why what I built, I want to do it multiple. Like, I'm the CEO, I'm the founder. This is my everyday business. I'm doing 10-hour days of running Wild Society Nutrition. I'm building the products. I'm helping market the products. I'm helping with my logistics. I have a team behind me, but I'm wearing all the hats right now, right? Sometimes when you get really big name athletes, they don't want to continue that. More so, I want the hungry athlete that maybe hasn't made a name for himself, and this is the way that he's going to make the name for himself,
What makes you want to take that route, the route of wearing all the hats and building the thing yourself instead of slapping your name on it and letting somebody else run it?
Because I feel like I did that. I put my name on something and tried to have someone else run it when I was still fighting. I didn't have the time to be a businessman, right? So I tried using my name to my advantage and be involved with something, just using my likeness to make it successful. And it didn't pan out. I don't think anyone's going to work as hard as you personally on your own business. And I can't trust anyone else to do as much work as that I'm going to do or care as much as I'm going to care. Like, I care about every ingredient that was put in every one of these products. I want to be able to have my face behind it, be proud of it. Like, we built it for the natural sector, and I'll get into that. But like, I want to, a little bit of a control freak, I guess, too. But I can let go, and people that are smarter than me and that have done this, like, I will listen to them to the end of the world and back. But like, I don't know. It just comes down to, like, I know that I'm going to work hard enough to get it done. And I believe in myself, right? So if I believe in myself, like, what better man to do it than myself?
Before we go too much further, give people listening a little bit of give us the elevator pitch or tell everybody what Wild Society Nutrition is, what you guys are doing, some of the products.
Awesome. Yeah. Wild Society Nutrition. I created this selfishly for myself, things I wish I would have had when I was competing. It was very hard for me to trust brands, to reach peak performance. There was a coach I met, Sam Calavita, completely changed my life. He owns the training lab. I met him after I was a world champion, but I met him in when I was turned 30 years old, and I wanted to leave no stone unturned and be the best I possibly can. Well, this guy came into my life. He came into my house and saw the supplements that I had on my counter. He's like, throw all those away. Like, those aren't doing any good for you. They're disrupting your hormones. They have this in it. They have that in it. And I'm like, my mind was blown. I was like, what do you mean? Like, they have my best interests at heart. They're a nutrition company, It's like, no, they're not, right? So then you learn all these artificial ingredients, the artificial sweeteners, the dyes. Like, I got really into my diet. I've been on like an 8-year diet now ever since I met him. Actually, 939. So a 9-year diet, and I haven't faltered from it at all. And that diet, the supplement change, and the way that I was training was all because of him. And so when I retired, I wanted to turn that into a company. So Wild Society Nutrition was built for products I wish I had when I was competing. Built for the natural sector. I rolled out into Sprouts Farmers Market first. I didn't launch online. I didn't just slap my face on a product and make it in my garage and slap it online. We went to one of the leaders in the natural sector first, which that was Sprouts Farmers Market. And Sprouts and Whole Foods, they have this kill list of ingredients you cannot have in the products and live within their four walls. So there's two reasons why I wanted to go to Sprouts first. One was because of that kill list. I wanted everyone in the world to know that if I was good enough for Sprouts, I was good enough for your pantry, that I was doing the right things. I wasn't putting sucralose in my product. I wasn't putting silicone to prevent foaming. I wasn't doing all these things that a lot of brands were doing because they're more worried about margins than they are worried about the actual product. And then step two was that, look, man, the normal Sprouts Farmers Market shopper is not a UFC fan typically, right? Like, it's probably like the soccer mom that's looking to take care of their family. So I knew that if I could be successful at Sprouts, that I had something real on my hands, and then I could start using my likeness and then build it even bigger. So we became very successful at Sprouts within the first 6 months, and we've rolled into GNC, we've rolled into Vitamin Shop, we've talked with other retailers, and our Amazon growing fast now. And I say, if you build a product and don't worry about the margins, you're going to take over. So everything's natural. Natural sweeteners, natural coloring, natural flavors. It's protein based. So we build whey protein isolates with electrolytes. I find synergies between multiple products for peak performance. So whey protein isolates here, they drink more like a Gatorade than they do a protein powder. It's got 20 grams of protein with electrolytes added to it. If you're someone that's looking for peak performance, that's like top notch. We got concentrates. I mean, I even got right here. This one is fun. This is the one
I want to try. I've seen this online. Yeah.
This one's taken off really, really fast, and I didn't expect that it would. I didn't know what it would do. So this is called Caveman Eats. The only two ingredients in it right now are grass-fed beef and salt. It's an air-dried steak. So yeah, it's jerky, but really it's an air-dried steak. I take a 20-ounce ribeye. I slice it up thinly, we dry it, and we season it with salt, and that's all there is in there. And you're eating every bag of 20-ounce grass-fed ribeye. Like, you can't even go to the butcher and buy a 20-ounce grass-fed ribeye for almost the price that we're putting it in a bag. And it's exploded. It's hard for me to even keep up with the demand of it. I just last week had to buy like 60,000 pounds of grass-fed ribeye to try to continue to make the product and stay in front of the demand of it. So we got whey protein isolates, concentrates, jerkies, electrolytes, everything that you possibly need to have convenience of our longevity. Oh, this one's fun too. Our longevity, like everyone's focused on longevity and living a healthier, longer life. This product, we rolled it out into GNC as a exclusive first. We sell it online as well too. This has got the top 10 ingredients to help you with aging and also sports longevity. Everything from creatine, lactoferrin, urethrin A, the two most studied collagens in the world, and whey protein isolates. I mean, the list is endless on the things we put in it. It's like, as an athlete, this is what I wish I would have had when I was competing. This probably could have kept me in the game a little bit longer, avoided some injuries, and performed to the best of my ability, cognitively as well as physically.
If you're listening and not watching, he held up longevity. You're welcome for the plug.
No, awesome. Thank you.
No, TJ, man, I love everything you said. I mean, this is like, my personal values and my personal, thoughts on supplements as well. And, I don't think you and I, we've talked once prior to this. And I think I told you I've got some background in the supplement space. And I know how important, transparency is. I know sourcing and third-party testing. And, you've mentioned no stone unturned a couple of times. And that's like, I just love that mindset. That's how I live. In everything I do, I want to, leave no stone unturned in that pursuit to, be at my best and to perform at my best. I'm curious, when I say, or when you say no stone unturned as an entrepreneur or in the business side of things, what's an example that comes to your mind of something that, it would qualify as leaving no stone unturned, as an action that you've taken to try to build this or get the best possible ingredients?
First it starts with the actual product, right? No stone unturned, the product first. The product's got to be what the brand is. And so the product first. You're talking about third-party testing where, informed choice from the get-go. I didn't make one product until I did third-party testing first. Like, I wanted the consumer to know that everything we put on the ingredient, the nutritional facts panel, is actually in the product. Mm-hmm. Because in the supplement industry, Like it's crazy what people can release and put in there and you have no idea.
Yep.
Like you always want to expect that these brands have your best interest at heart when they actually don't. They just care about making that quick buck. So third-party testing is a must. The ingredients that I stand behind and that I live my daily life in is a must. Yeah, it's got to taste the part, but it's also got to be the best nutritional valued product possible. That's the first stone unturned. Yeah. And then it's going to go into creating the culture and the lifestyle, right? Like creating not only the brand as the product, but also as who I am and what the Wild Society members are as a society, as a culture. And then the people that I hire, I mean, it goes behind everything, right? I mean, and there's a lot of things you can't control, right? So as much as I can control the best and the right kind of manufacturing partners, the right logistics partners, because, what could kill this company is if I don't have products on the shelf for a certain amount of time, like I can't be stocked out. So there's a lot. In fighting, there was a lot, but there's 10 times more when it comes to running your own brand to not leave any stone unturned. And if you do, it could blow the whole company up.
That is true. Very true. We were talking before we hit record about, how you have learned to be patient with growing at a speed that is progress for the business, but may not be as fast as you want it to go personally. So can you talk a little bit about how you're managing expectations and, maybe dealing with frustration, learning to be patient?
I've had to learn that big time. I'm not a very patient person in general. And I think it's because of my career choices my entire life. Like I'm very fortunate. I've never had to have like a 9 to 5, right? Like I was an athlete through college and then I got into fighting. Yes, I worked, but I didn't have a 9 to 5, right? So fighting, I have a 10, 12 week camp. I get ready for that fight. I fight, you win, like gratifying. Like you have a timeline, you get it done. It's what's to be expected. In the world of the business I'm running right now and not being able to control everything, like manufacturing not happening as fast as you want. You have longer lead times and having to learn to be patient took a lot for me. Like I used to ride people hard in the beginning and I learned that I can't do business that way. I'm going to rub people the wrong way. Not everyone's made up the way that I am, right? Not everyone wants to just go, get things done. And you have to learn to be more of a people person. Yeah, a little bit in fighting, but look, it's an individual sport. I go out there and I get to control myself and I get to win and I get it done. But in this world of being an entrepreneur, running a nutrition line, like you got to be personable and I got to be a people person. I got to not push people into the ground and I can't run my employees into the ground and push people too hard because it's going to blow up. So it took a lot for me to learn things don't get done as fast as you want, right? Especially if you want things done right.
Yeah.
So if you want people to care about what you're doing.
Are you leaning on some of those business mentors that you mentioned earlier to really guide you through that? And like, I'm sure it's one thing to have that awareness, but then to actually put it into action with the way that you communicate and sort of the expectation that you have with employees and maybe project management, deadlines, things like that?
Absolutely. Those advisors have helped me. Look, they've made mistakes, right? The same way you find a coach to teach you try to avoid these mistakes in the world of fighting is the same way that these advisors have helped me to not make the same mistakes they did as they started their brands or, built and sold their companies. And I have surrounded myself with some heavy hitters, some guys that are very smart in this game and are teaching me a lot very, very fast. We've only been out for a year. We've been in the market for a year right now. We're in over 3,000 doors and continue to grow insanely fast. I have some very exciting things coming up here in the next couple months that it's insane. It's insane how fast it's going and just, yeah, man, without those advisors, I don't know if I'd be here right now.
What's the vision? I mean, where do you want to see this thing go in the next 3, 5, 10 years?
Yeah, I always think 3, right? Thinking 10 years, like, because of my impatience, but like, I want this thing to be obviously as big as possible, right? I want to be as in many doors as possible. I want everyone to know it. Like there's some products that are coming out that I want to live in, everything from convenience to to the natural sector. Like I think the way that our culture is changing right now, when you think about longevity and health and wellness, COVID played a big part in that, but nutrition and health and wellness is a big part of our culture right now. Mm-hmm. And I'm hoping this is going to go from everywhere from convenience stores to Whole Foods and Sprouts. to where like you could buy my product at Circle K or you could buy it at Sprouts kind of deal, right? And like everyone's kind of learning that like minimal ingredients is the way to go. Hopefully you can pronounce every ingredient on the products you're buying, and really just educating the youth, something that I wish I would have known as a kid, or all of us would have known as a kid, of like how we should be treating our body, how we should be eating, how I should be working out, how I should be recovering. Like, I don't want Wild Society to only be products. I want it to teach health, wellness to the younger generation of how to live a life, and like my son has got the best example of what to do and how to recover and how to eat. And I don't push it on him, but he sees how I live my life,
Do you see that lifestyle education as a piece that just comes through maybe on social media, on the website, or is that something that like, are you actually thinking about building out courses or programs or things like that?
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of things to come, but right now it's podcasts like this, it's social media. And just the more you talk about it, the more people you get to listen and understand that like you shouldn't have sucralose in your products, right? If you're drinking sucralose, you're messing up your gut microbiome and you're messing up your hormone levels, and just teaching that way through conversation, through example, workouts. Like right now we're on day 22 of a 30-day challenge. Anyone that's following along with us, that you do one thing a day to promote health and wellness. If that's the workout that you're doing, if that's the diet you're changing up, if that's the way you're recovering, right? And doing something about it. Yeah, we're getting people to post about it to continue to build that culture. But by building it, it's going to increase the education across the world.
And I guess by the time this publishes, that 30 days will be over, but you're doing that on the Wild Society Nutrition Instagram?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. And also my own a little bit too. I mean, a lot of the Wild Societies through my likeness, obviously. So I post a lot of stuff on my channel as well too. Try to keep people up to date on what it's like to be an entrepreneur, on my, my physical fitness journeys all the time, things like that. Just not just trying to sell products, but trying to sell a lifestyle.
Do you feel like it's harder for you? Maybe harder is not the right way to phrase it. It's definitely going to be harder, like on the fitness and workout side, recovery side. How do you make sure that you make time for that when you're working 10 hours a day as a businessman compared to your previous career where that really was, part and parcel with your job?
Yeah, my job used to be working out 2 or 3 times a day, right? So now I find, which is almost, it's too much, right? But yeah, I'm reaching peak performance for one night. When I was a professional fighter, I wanted peak performance for that one night where I knew I could fight 25 minutes and I'm the best conditioned athlete ever in the world at that night. Yep. But now it's a lifelong journey. So to be honest, I actually think it's probably healthier what I'm doing now. Mm-hmm. To an extent, maybe I'm a little bit too stressed on certain things when it comes to work. But right before this call, I just went and did a 45-minute workout next door. I have a gym next door to where, mentally I have to do something. Like I really do. Otherwise the stress will get to me, and just life in general. And also I feel guilty about not working out. So right before this call, I just got done working out next door. So I try to do it on my lunch breaks, or maybe I'll go for a run in the morning before I even start work, just depending on what my schedule looks like day to day. So it's more smaller workouts. At nighttime, I'll jump on my Peloton, my stationary bike, and I'll just throw Netflix on and ride for an hour, right? Just like zone 2 health and wellness kind of training. Yeah, it's going to continue to make me feel good and look good, but also it's just the way to live life, finding ways to, I think Gary Brecka said this, snacking on fitness, right? Finding a way to like work out here and there. You don't have to do it all at once. Like I used to do a 2-hour workout when I was getting ready for a fight. Like I don't have 2 hours of workout anymore. Right. Maybe I got 10 minutes in the morning or 30 minutes at lunch that I can go do something real quick, or maybe we get off this call and I can go hit a run. Like small times throughout these windows, you can find little things to do, even if that's walking after dinner,
Yeah. No, I love that. Just a nerd question for you, because you said zone 2 on the Peloton. I'm curious, like how much, if just on average, like how much zone 2 do you feel like you get now? And when you were fighting, was the percentage the same? Like, did you still try to get around 80 to 90% of your aerobic work in zone 2?
Yeah. So So when I was fighting, I'd probably do like 2 days a week, anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour of zone 2 training. Because your fitness is like a pyramid, right? And I need my zone 2 to be the biggest part of it down here at the bottom, right? Because I need my body to learn to burn fat for fuel, right? And then when I start pushing that and ramping up until I switch over and start burning carbs and I start producing lactic acid, so then 2 days a week I would do super intense strength conditioning with Sam Calavita, and that's when I'm redlining my body. Mm-hmm. I'm redlining my cardio and then lifting weights and strength at the same day, back to back, either reversing. He's got this whole algorithm, and I don't want to dive into it too much, but that was like 2 days a week I'd do my low base, which we call zone 2. 2 days a week I would do redlined lactic threshold, the worst workouts you've ever done in your life for like 2-3 hours, like hard. And then, obviously I'm doing kickboxing and sparring, which a lot of that's in zone 2, or not zone 2. That's like redlining your body as well too, right? So it's really important when I was in fight camp to find those 2 days a week where I could do zone 2 training. Right now, I'm probably still doing 2 days a week, but I'm not pushing my body as hard on the other workouts.
Right.
I've been trying to put muscle on, so I don't do as much cardio anymore. I do zone 2 training just for health and wellness, just for making sure you stay healthy and immune system and just, heart health and all that kind of good stuff. So I do zone 2 training guaranteed once a week, maybe twice a week, right? And I like to do it on my bike a lot of times because I'll just throw Netflix on or something and just not have to even think about what I'm doing, or I'll go hit the road and run.
All right, man. We're coming up on the end here. I want to be respectful of your time, but I got a couple more quick questions for you. I know you're a hunter. Are you going to have any time to get out and hunt this fall, or are you going to be working all the time?
I didn't get to hunt last year either. And it's not only because of how busy I am, it's because my shoulder don't work. I only like to archery hunt. I'm not much of a rifle hunter anymore. I grew up that way, but ever since 2012, I got addicted to archery hunting, and I probably never go back. I mean, yeah, I don't know, maybe, but most likely won't go back. I'll probably only hunt with a bow now. But right now, I need a shoulder replacement. I can't even comb my hair with my left hand. I can passively raise it, but I need to get a shoulder replacement. I have been thinking though that I might learn to shoot left-handed, because it's about holding the bow up. It's not about my draw strength is fine.
Right.
So the hardest part's gonna be me switching up my eyes, right? So I got a bow that's only a 50-pound pull weight that I'm gonna start practicing left-handed on, just so I can get some reps in. I think it's gonna be a good challenge for me.
Whatever it takes, right?
Yeah. So I didn't get to hunt last year because of my shoulder, and I probably won't hunt this year because of my shoulder, but also because of business.
Got it. All right. So TJ, this is a question we ask every guest. Your final piece of advice for a listener who wants to be more consistent at moving the chains, making progress.
Consistency. It's got to be consistency. I mean, everyone does like this 2-week, all right, I'm going to get it done, and then they fall off. It's time and time again. That's why we're kind of doing a 30-day challenge right now. Don't go out there and do everything all at once. Change one thing at a time and consistently change that one thing at a time. And then day after day, once you get after this 1 month or 2 months of doing it, it just turns into a habit. Cut sugar. Maybe I'm cutting added sugars out of my diet. This is what I'm going to do for a little while. And then I'm going to start adding I'm going to do twice a week, 30 minutes of cardio, right? And just do one thing at a time and stay consistent with it. And then eventually it just turns into a habit, and then you end up feeling guilty that you don't do it, right? So if you want to move the chains, consistency is king, I think.
All right. I love it. Where can our listeners get more of you and follow along with Wild Society Nutrition?
Just TJ Dillashaw on Instagram. I have a TikTok. I hardly use it, but I'm there as well too. And Wild Society Nutrition on Instagram. Our website's wildsocietynutrition.com. Everything from, ideas on how to just become a healthier human to the best products in the world, in my opinion.
We'll put links to all that in the show notes for everybody so you can find them easily.
Awesome.
TJ, man, thanks so much. This has been an awesome conversation. And for everybody listening, I'm glad you're here. I'm excited for the conversations and guests that we're going to bring you in the future. Every week, we're bringing you tips and tools on how to use movement chains in your day-to-day life with real-world examples from my life, my coaching clients, friends, other high-performing and successful human beings like TJ. so that we can see how they have their versions of Move the Chains that fuel their successes. So thanks for listening. Make sure you subscribe to the Move the Chains podcast wherever you listen so you get notified of new episodes. And if you dig what you're hearing, leave us a review, share this episode with somebody you know that will benefit from listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode.